share my experience with Roehl. It's not Roehl, it's Roehl. I had that confusion when I first applied and everything. I was calling it Roehl for probably a good month or two, probably before I started, and then I found out it was Roehl. But yeah, so I've made plenty of videos during the hiring process and through going to school and through while I was in phase 2 with my trainer and phase 3. But for some reason, I don't like none of the videos. I still might post them because a couple of them are good, but some of them were dark or just bullshit. So, or I might have had a booger in my nose and I was like, I'm not gonna post that. Sorry for all the shakiness. I'm driving right now through Indiana, trying to make it home to Ohio, where I live. I drive, I'm trying to figure out what fleet I'm on. Not figure out. I know that I don't know if I'm either Midwest Regional or Northeast Regional, one of the two. But I'm regional. I'm home every weekend, Saturday and Sunday for my 34. And then I come back out on Mondays. But overall, talk about my experience so far with Roehl. I really haven't had any issues with Roehl. It's actually a really good company. I did my Cdl schooling in Marshfield, Wisconsin. Let me over. I did my Cdl schooling in Marshfield in March. It's now almost, in a couple days it'll be October. So I'm going on being with Roehl for 7 months now. I've only been solo by myself now for going on 4 months. So school was cool. They cram your brain with a lot of information. But honestly, it really wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. It really wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I got sick while I was there. I ended up getting strep throat. And I didn't even go to class for probably maybe about 2 or 3 days. So that first week, I missed like 2-3 days, and I came back on Monday because I started on a Monday. And I still passed the first time taking the test. Didn't have any issues. But they do cram your brain with a lot of information. And even then, while we were there in school, they told us like a lot of the stuff that we train you on and teach you here is more than you need to know. But they rather us be over prepared than not be prepared. So take that into consideration when you're there. If you go, you want to ride for Roehl. After hearing horror stories from other people who went to like Roadmaster and Swift, I kind of got bad reviews from other people. I don't know why, but I actually was supposed to go to Swift first before I went to Roehl. I changed my mind last minute because Roehl was willing to pay me while I was there in school. So that made a big difference to me. Even though it was way farther, there was actually a Swift school maybe 15 minutes from my house. Then I still ended up going with Roehl because that money made a difference to me. But long story short, passed my Cdl test first time. After that, I went into phase 2. with my trainer. I was with my trainer for 24 days. A lot of people, I know a couple people that I went to class with in Marshville. Some people had a couple little bad experiences with trainers, but nothing too crazy. It was more about like some of these drivers out here, they're not as clean as other drivers. So some people might have had some little body odor or some shit like that. But actually, my trainer, he had been with Roehl for 10 years. And he was an older guy. He's like 60 some years old. And he was pretty cool. He didn't smoke a lot of cigarettes, but I smoked cigarettes too at that time, and I quit. I quit after that because I started to turn into a chain smoker as I was with him. It seemed like I was smoking more cigarettes than I should have. So I quit after I got out of training with him. But my trainer was cool. He asked me did I want to drive. The first day I got with him, I said no, I was going to let him drive it. He was ready to park for the day anyway. He came and picked me up in Ohio from Kentucky, where he lived. But that next day, I drove every day after that. Drove every day. He had me do all the backs. He had me do all the customer check-ins, check-outs, talking to the guard shacks, doing all that. So I actually had a decent experience with my trainer. He was national, so we did go to some different places. I went to like Arizona. Never been to Arizona. That was my first time going to Arizona, so I got to experience the mountains out there, and they're pretty gnarly. But I went to New Mexico, Kansas, Iowa. I was in Texas for a little bit. And we actually drove with a reefer trailer then, because he was driving, and most of the loads going out to Phoenix. Well, we were in Marshville at the time. His FM said that we needed a reefer if we wanted to go to Phoenix. He's been to Phoenix, but he had never been to New Mexico. So he wanted to be able to go through New Mexico, and he got to see it. He was able to see it. I actually got to see it. I'd never seen Texas. I'd never seen New Mexico. I'd never seen Phoenix. It is beautiful out there. It's beautiful. That was the farthest west I've ever been. And it was an all-around good experience. But yeah, I was with my trainer for 24 days. That 24th day, he dropped me off in... Where did he drop me off at? He dropped me off at the terminal in Gary, Indiana. And they got me a rental car. So I had to they got me an Uber. There was another rail driver. When you're in Indiana, this is kind of like our territory. You see us in Indiana a lot, especially since we got a terminal here. But yeah, so they got me a Uber from the Gary terminal to Chicago, and I got a rental. They set me up a rental car, and I took the rental car and I drove the rental car home. So then I was moving on to phase 3. Phase 3 is when you get your truck, and you're pretty much, you're solo. You're definitely solo once you get into phase 3. There's still some, I know before you get out of phase 3, they have you do a close quarters training just to see how you're doing. And then usually after that close quarters, maybe a week or two after, then you get out of phase 3. But phase 3, they're more lenient with you. In phase 3, you'll have a phase 3 fleet manager. They mostly give you a lot of dropping hooks and live loads. They give you live loads and stuff too. And what else? They yeah, my baby.
2 miles ahead, go south on I-65.
I did stop smoking cigarettes, but I've
73.5 miles ahead. Take exit 129 to I-65 east.
Yeah, so once I got my truck, this is my truck. This is Cassie. I'll show you guys Cassie in another video. She's a 2022 Freightliner Cascadia. There was 14 people in my class. Out of that whole 14 people in the class, I'm the only person who got a brand new truck. And I prayed for a brand new truck the whole time I was with my trainer, the whole time I was in Cdl, and I got lucky and got a new truck. When I got this truck, it had 88,000 miles on it, which isn't bad for the year. There's a lot of other people I know that I talk to every day that I went to school with in Marshfield that some of their trucks have like 300,000 miles, or they're older, or they're like an 18 or 19. I actually wanted a international. I just thought it was bigger, but I definitely did want a Freightliner. It was just that I was trained in a international, so I felt like I was more comfortable. But when I was with my trainer in phase 2, he had the same exact truck. He had a 2022 Freightliner Cascadia. So after I had got out of the truck with him, I was like, oh, I need one of these, and I got lucky and I got a 2022. So I was excited about that. It did take a little while for them to find me a truck. Probably took maybe about a week and a half, maybe. And then they gave me the call, like, yeah, your truck's ready. And then they flew me from Columbus, Ohio to Chicago. And then they got me an Uber from Chicago to Gary, Indiana. Everything was paid for. They paid for everything. They pretty much paid for my life through that whole period of time, through the Cdl and through phase 2 with my trainer. Anything that I kind of needed, they kind of paid for it. Other than food, I had to feed myself. But so far, I haven't had any issues with Roehl. They're very committed to their drivers. I'm not gonna lie, somebody else might tell you something different, but I'm just telling you my experience. If I'm out here driving and if I get tired, they let me pull over. Go ahead and pull over, shut down, call us when you're ready to get back out on the road. I can't be out here for 2 days just resting, but I'll start back up in the morning. I can update my ETA to wherever shipper I'm going to or whatever constantly I'm going to. They're all about safety. I will say that about Roehl, is that they're very big on safety, and it's a big deal for them, and I appreciate that, because when you get out here on this road, you'll get to see that there's a lot of bullshit going on. There's a lot of these drivers that, I don't know if they're not very well trained, or they're fatigued, or they're tired, and I don't know. Roehl, we do everything the Roehl way. I feel very cliche saying that, because we talk about that all the time. But I do everything the Roehl way. But yeah, overall, after I got out of phase 3, it took me about, how long did it take me to get out of phase 3? It took me about 2 months to get out of phase 3. And I think that was because towards the end I started getting like following distance. They want you to have 7 seconds of distance between you and a car that's ahead of you. So I was starting to get a couple following distances, so they kept me in probably like a couple weeks longer. But I went and took my close quarters training, and they told me that I was an above average driver, which I patted myself on the back for that, because I do pretty good out here. I can pretty much back any bag. I can pretty much do anything in this truck without hitting anything or anything. So now I'm coming up on being 4 months solo. I have about 38,000 safe miles. And I'm proud of that. I haven't hit anything. I haven't had any incidents. yeah, Roehl's a good job. I make good money. Even while I was in phase 3, and I was still being trained over the phone and stuff like that through my fleet manager, I still managed to make good money. Making about $1,000 a week. They have me running. I don't never sit still. I'm regional. Our regional drivers get the most miles, is what I think, because we never sit still. And I'm averaging at least 2,000 miles a week, at the least. Now, if there was a week where I got less than 2,000 miles, it's probably because of me. Maybe I got tired, I shut down early one day, or it could have been anything. Oh, there was another time where something was going on with my trailer. No, not my trailer, my steer tire. I had a chunk of rubber missing out of my steer tire, and I shut down early for that week too. And earlier in the week, and ended up having to get a new tire put on and all this other stuff. But other than that, no, I'm averaging about 2,000 to 2,500 miles a week at least, and I'm averaging about, all my checks are over 1,000. All my checks are over 1,000. When I hit about 3,000 miles a week, I'm getting about close to 1,400, high 1,300s. So it's all been working out for me. I haven't had the issues with Roehl. My fleet manager's nice. I like to have a new truck. It's easy. I like my job. Like, subscribe to the channel. I'm just now making this channel. I've been meaning to do it now for some months. And I'll be giving you guys more insight on Roehl and what it's like to drive for Roehl. Like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.